Hi, in today's video I'm going to take a look at setting up OBS Studio without Pulse Audio on FreeBSD. What I'm going to do is show you how to set up your mics using OSS audio and capture the output of applications using virtual OSS, and also enable audio ducking so that when you're talking the volume of the media source will automatically be lowered. What we've got here is a YouTube video. And what I've got is FreeBSD Firefox set up to use OSS as the audio backend instead of Pulse Audio. And I'm going to play this clip and you'll see that it's going to capture the audio output as well as the video.
Meaning to look at is Bastille BSD containers for FreeBSD. Should we have a look at it? Why not?
Okay, so you can see there we're capturing the output from Firefox with the audio set to SND instead of Pulse Audio. So what I'm going to do is actually go through all the steps to get this working. So what I'm going to do is come across to my notes. So first thing, we actually need to set up virtual OSS. So virtual OSS allows you to create a sort of virtual audio device that we can use with OBS Studio to capture the output of the audio. So basically these are my notes on this here. You install virtual OSS. You have to set up queues, edit your bootloader, and what you want to make sure is to not actually enable virtual OSS, because the way it works is it's got a service that you can start, and what this does will it automatically clones your DSP device, and it will change your DSP device. So if you've got your headphones set as the default, it will change it to the speaker. So you don't actually start virtual OSS. What you do is you set it up, and when you want to use it, you switch to root and you run this command here, and you change this DSP device for the one you want. So 0 is my speaker, 1 is my headphones. So if I switch across to the terminal here, what you'll see is that I'm actually running this command as root. Virtual OSS, that's Q0, which is quality. These are some mappings, but the channels, the audio rate, the device. We set rdev null wvdsp.wav ldsp, and what this does is it creates a sort of virtual device that we can use in OBS Studio. So what I'm going to do is actually switch across to OBS Studio here, and what I was doing was I was using Pulse Audio previously, and I was having terrible clicking and popping with the audio, so I figured it must be a Pulse Audio issue. I think I've narrowed it down. The reason I'm not actually running OBS Studio full screen here is because what I found using Wayfire on Wayland is that when it was full screen it wouldn't quit properly, and I'm wondering if there's some issue running it full screen that was causing some kind of buffer issue that was then causing the audio pops with Pulse Audio. But anyway, I've got rid of Pulse Audio completely with OBS Studio. And what I'm going to do is actually show you the setup here. So what we've got here, we've got the output. So this is the screen we're recording with Wayland output DMFA buffer. And this is the audio input capture. So what we can see here is DSP PCM3 USB audio. So this is my audio device. This is a Yeti Blue Snowball, sample rate channels like that. And if I come across here to the audio filters, so the other thing to mention while I'm thinking of this is typically what you do is you set your audio device in the settings. When you've been using Pulse Audio, what you'll be used to is setting your desktop audio in here and your mic in here. And you don't want to do that because this section here works with Pulse Audio. It doesn't give you the option to select OSS audio. We don't use this at all. We don't set the desktop audio or the mic here. What we're doing is we're creating a audio input capture OSS here, and as you see, selecting our mic DSP, and then for the other scenes, basically what we do is when we create a new input capture, it gives the option to either create a new one or use an existing one. So we just create it once in one scene, and then we can add that audio input capture to each scene where we want the microphone. So if I come across to the filters here, what you see is we've got sort of default settings here: noise suppression, noise gate, compressor, and a little bit of gain. So those are just all at the default. So that's the mic. So I haven't got the monitor audio set up. I was just switching scenes there. I've got the monitor audio only set up on the laptop scene, as it were, so it's not showing up here. What I'll do is I'll show you how you set up the monitor device next. So if I come across here, let me just check it. Right. So what you do to create a audio thingy in OBS Studio that's going to connect to the virtual OSS capture loopback device, is you come here, you go audio input capture OSS, and you can see I've already got one here. So what I'm going to do is, you would either give it a new one, but I'm going to do add existing. One weird thing with this is you think you just click add existing, you've actually got to select the thing down here as well, so you can see add existing, and this one here, monitor audio. So the reason I've added this here is so that I can actually show you, because otherwise if it's in the other scene I can't show you. But I've only got it set up on the laptop screen because that's the one I'd be capturing from. But okay, let's have a look at the properties for this. So what you need to do after you've gone audio input capture OSS, what you need to do is set the DSP to custom. And then what you put in here is custom DSP path, dev DSP. And that's it. That's the connection that you need to the virtual OSS device. So what I'm going to show you now is audio ducking. And this is a tip from Gaming Careers YouTube channel, which is a UK-based channel that does lots of gaming stuff and good videos on OBS Studio. So what we're going to do is select the monitor audio device that we created, go to filters, and what we did is we go compressor, and what you do is you just name it like ducking. So I'm calling it ducking monitor, as in monitoring audio device. And these are settings from the Gaming Careers channel. So ratio 4, threshold -40 here, hack 50, release 500. So those are the only settings in this here, and this is the important thing here: sidechain ducking source. What you need to do from this drop down is actually select the microphone source that we created. So this is the audio input for the OSS. And that's what I basically set up previously when I was talking about the mic. So you select this, and what this will basically do is when the audio is playing in something that's being captured with the OSS, the virtual OSS device, when you start talking on the mic, the volume of the other source will automatically get lowered. And then when you stop talking, the volume will go back. So what I'll do is I'll show you that. So let's come back across to YouTube and let's have a look at something like Robo Noogie. Okay.
Following in the footsteps of the latest release from FreeBSD.
Okay, so when I start talking, this
of NomadBSD.
Okay, so when I start talking, it's going to lower the volume of the audio in the other source, and then when I stop talking, the volume's going to come back to normal.
So here we are on the NomadBSD website, and specifically the download section.
Okay, so if I start talking over him, it's going to. If I start talking over him, it's going to lower the volume. I'll stop that because I think you basically get the gist. But I wanted to show you how audio ducking works. So let me just stop that and switch back to the monitor here. Okay. I'm just finishing some tea there. So, as I said, what you basically do is you don't set up the audio devices in settings, audio. So you can see this is all disabled. What you do is you create a sort of new scene and you set your microphone up like that, and I give it a new one. Select the DSP device here. And again, what you want to then do is come across to the filters, add noise suppression, noise gate, compressor. These are just all the default. Maybe a little bit of gain if you need it. And then with the monitor audio, again the monitor audio, that's another OSS audio input capture. But we set the DSP to custom and the DSP path to dev DSP. And what you need to do is make sure that you actually have this enabled and running before you start OBS Studio. So you can see here, virtual OSS command here, and you replace this DSP device with your default device. So, if it's DSP 2 or 3, where the audio is coming out of, basically you change that. So that's getting the audio capture set up, and this is the setting for Firefox. Basically, go into about config media.cubeb.backend, and it will basically, when you create a new thing, it will say, do you want to create a boolean, something else, or a string? And you select string, just put OSS in, restart Firefox, and then it's going to come it's basically not going to use pulse audio. Now, I've got some links down here because there was a bug I did come across with virtual OSS, with Firefox, with the back end set to OSS. And basically what happens is, after you've been using OBS or you've been using virtual OSS, you don't get any audio coming out of Firefox, and the only way I've figured out how to actually get around that is to reboot. It's a bit annoying, so after me doing this recording, I'll have to reboot. I've tried restarting SNDIOD audio. The other gotcha with virtual OSS is this is basically mentioning is you can start virtual OSS at boot, or you can set it so that you have to use one start and one stop to stop and start the service. But the issue is, what happens is, if you've got an application running that was using the audio and you run one stop, it won't actually stop virtual OSS. You have to close all the applications using audio, like you've got a browser open or something, and then run service virtual OSS one stop, because otherwise it will have a PID continually running. You can see down here mentioning it, and this is something I did come across. So there's a couple of ways of starting virtual OSS. Put it in, is it boot? You can either start it, I think it's rc.conf. Okay, yeah. So what you can do is in your rc.conf, you can have virtual OSS enabled, and what that will do is it will start up virtual OSS at boot. But what it will do is it will use this default configuration, and it will clone your DSP device and reset it to the speakers, which is really irritating. You can also put in a specific configuration for virtual OSS in your rc.conf, so that when you use one start or one stop, or have the service started, it uses that configuration. But what we're doing instead is we're not using either of those methods. We're not using a configuration file or an option in the rc.conf. The best way is you basically just run virtual OSS like this. You don't actually start the service. So this is another thing that was a real gotcha kind of thing for me, because what I was doing is I was running service virtual OSS one start, and what it was then doing is using a default configuration, which was then resetting the DSP device. So when I was trying to do this, run this command, I was getting an error saying can't connect to cubed, and it just wasn't working basically. So we don't start the service at all. We don't start the service in rc.conf, and we don't run service one start service virtual OSS one start at all. We basically just use this command. Once we've got everything set up, we just switch to root and then run this command before we start OBS Studio. And then what we do is we close all the applications and just Control C in the terminal to kill that. Again, this is the settings for OBS Studio. We add audio input capture, and in the properties we set the DSP to custom and the custom DSP path to dev DSP. So let me just switch back to OBS Studio here. So again, we've got audio input capture with OSS here. We've got the filters applied for noise reduction, that sort of thing. We've got monitor for monitoring the output of applications. So see if I've got, okay, just switch to my config here. Hang on, doing it off camera. Okay, right. If I switch back to the laptop, what I'll do is I'll just play a video with MPV, and the output's going to be captured, the audio output's going to be captured with the monitor audio. Okay, so you can see there that the output of MPV was being captured. Let's do Chromium as well. Okay, so what we'll do is, should we do ITV? Let's do channel 4. Okay. Just a heads up, this is the worst movie ever made, Rat Race. Terrible. So bad, they had to do a poster without any of the cast. So let's open up a video, Escape from Mogadishu. Quite a good film, actually. It's based on a true story of South Korean and North Korean diplomats trying to get out of Mogadishu. So what I'm going to do is basically play this, a little bit of this, so I don't, there's no copyright issues. I'm just going to stop and start it, basically, have it capture a little bit of the audio. But this is DRM encrypted audio and video. And in a previous video, I showed you how you can build wide vine support for Chromium on FreeBSD. So let me see if I can get this to play and capture the audio and video. Okay, so that's just the end. I'll just see if I can get it to do it at the beginning. There's a bug with Channel 4 that's been like this for ages. You restart a video, it goes funny. So let's just put this full screen. I'm just going to play a few seconds of it. Yeah, so that's enough of that. So you can see that's working. I just wanted to show you that capturing the audio is working in all applications on FreeBSD. I mean, the limited number that I've got installed anyway, that use SND IOD audio as the sort of back end, which is the default. So with FreeBSD, Pulse Audio is not the default audio server. You've got sort of like OSS or SND sort of audio, and Firefox is literally one of the only I think it's the only application I've got installed that by default uses Pulse Audio. So again, typically what you do with OBS Studio and Pulse Audio on FreeBSD is you start Pulse Audio -- start. Once you've done that, what happens then is, if I come across here, you would see all your microphones listed here. You can see here none of these. I can't click any of these because I'm not running Pulse Audio. Okay, so that's why I was saying when you're running OBS Studio without Pulse Audio, you can't select anything in that section. You've got to basically add the input and output captures to a scene and then add them to the other scenes that you want. So that's one of the sort of issues with sort of Pulse Audio on FreeBSD. And I said I was doing a couple of other videos recently with covering different things, and I was getting terrible clicking and popping. And if I come across here, I have actually got some notes. We'll just go notes. Okay, so when I was running Ubuntu 22.04, there was an issue with MPV and Opus Audio clicking and popping, and the issue was to do with Pulse Audio, basically. And what you can do is install pipewire. You can set up pipewire as the server instead of using Pulse Audio. And these were the steps that I had to go through on OBS Studio, on Ubuntu, basically, to replace Pulse Audio as a server with Pipewire. So I was actually looking at doing that with FreeBSD, but it was a right pain, and thought surely you can just use the default audio server. So I did have a look at using Pipewire, but as I said, it's possible to use OBS Studio on FreeBSD without Pulse Audio at all, and just using the native sound system along with virtual OSS, so that you can actually capture the audio from all the applications running on your system, so you can basically capture desktop audio, as it were. So that's all for now. I think I don't think there's anything I've missed, but as I said, if you've been having terrible clicking and popping, try to use OBS Studio on FreeBSD. Maybe a Pulse Audio issue, and again, the other thing I found was actually having OBS Studio full screen for some reason. Wouldn't let me quit it properly. I don't know if you ever used Wayland. Sometimes, like with Firefox, there's an issue if you've got like a private window open or something. You sort of close the window, it still stays there even though the application's closed. It's a bit like that. You have to run pkill OBS Studio, which is a bit of a pain. But you can see down here, this is my CPU 6.1, 5.1. And if I come across to the settings here, which should be able to show you, output, recording, oh, for fuck's sake, why is it? Oh yeah, it is set to the right. For a horrible moment, I thought it reset itself to software encoding, but you can see here video encoder H.264 MVenc. So I've got MVenc encoding working with OBS Studio on FreeBSD, and I showed you a video about that. So I've got exactly the same setup as I did have on Linux. On FreeBSD, I can capture the audio. I've got the mic working, all the filters, audio ducking, that sort of thing. The one thing I haven't managed to get working, which is quite a nice tool, is OBS command on GitHub. I actually did a video on this. This is command line tool that works with the OBS Studio WebSocket version 5. It's got a limited API at the moment, but what it's quite useful for is you can do things like switch scene, so you can run OBS-command, scene switch, laptop, monitor, that sort of thing, toggle the recording. And what's really cool is you can actually put these commands in an Emacs org file and actually run these commands from within Emacs. So you can actually have a list of scenes in Emacs in sort of source code blocks and go switch to scene 1, 2, 3, 4. But this doesn't actually work on FreeBSD. I think you could install it with Cargo, or maybe run it under the Linux layer. So that's another thing I'd quite like to get working. But that's the rundown of getting OBS Studio working with OSS audio on FreeBSD without Pulse Audio, so you can capture your microphone and the desktop audio. So again, we set up virtual OSS. We're running virtual OSS here. I've got some links down here to that I sort of came across. This is one of the bugs here with it. This is how we set up Firefox to use OSS instead of Pulse Audio. See here. And that was the OBS command. So let me just switch back to the... Oh, I've been on the wrong thing all that time. Oh, for fuck's sake. You know what it is? I've got the microphone in front of the screen. Yeah. I was meant to be showing you when I was talking. Yeah, so that's virtual OSS, setting it up, and we don't set up virtual OSS to be enabled at boot, and we don't actually start. You don't start it before you run the virtual OSS command. So let me see if I can find the user local set for rc.d virtual OSS. So this is I've actually commented out the default one, but it doesn't actually matter. This is the sort of default command that gets run when you run virtual OSS, and what it does is it changes your DSP device. So if you've got your headphones set as your DSP device, it changes it back to speakers, and then it's an issue because then if you're trying to capture the output of some audio that's playing, it's going to be blaring out your speakers and then coming into your mic as opposed to going out your headphones. So when you start virtual OSS, it basically uses a default set of arguments here, which you can put in your rc.conf. But as I said, we're not doing that at all. We're just running the command, and that works perfectly. Works much easier. But there are a few issues with it, as I said, mentioned in this post here about Firefox. Basically, it's saying, let me just zoom that in. Okay, tested with Firefox about config media cube backend OSS. Before the first virtual OSS, one start sound is audible and controllable PAView control. It's basically going on saying after the first one stop, it continues to run with this PID. And it said basically what happens is if you haven't closed all the applications that use that are being captured with virtual OSS, when you stop it, it will continue to run. So you've got to close all the browsers and everything before you stop virtual OSS. But that's only if you've started it using service virtual OSS one start. But the issue still happens if you're actually running the command as I am here. So after I finish recording this and Control C this, I won't have any audio coming out of Firefox no matter what I do. Even though the virtual OSS device is been stopped, and I've you can check your HW Sound default unit to see that it's set to headphones, but the audio still won't come out, and the only way to resolve it is just to do a reboot. So that's another reason I would recommend not setting up virtual OSS sort of to be started automatically. I'd only use it when you kind of need to record the output of desktop applications, and then so the only way I can figure out how to get the audio to come back is to reboot. Starting and stopping the audio service doesn't make any difference. Virtual OSS isn't running, it's just it somehow mucks about with the DSP devices and confuses stuff. But it's fine when it's running. It's just after you've stopped it, you kind of got to reboot. So I just wanted to mention that caveat with this. I've got links to all these bits of sort of stuff I came across. Like here's the FreeBSD wiki, and this has got some notes about virtual OSS here. And these are some sort of like default configurations. But I actually got this tip from, where is it? Oh, my bad. From one of these. This one? I can't remember this one. Yeah. There we go. If someone's still interested, possible record desktop audio of OBS without pulse audio. So this is where I basically got that command from. You can see the X is what you basically replace with the device that you want to capture, and then in OBS Studio, what you do is you go add audio input capture OSS. But again, what you got to do is set the device to God's sake. Oh, God's sake. Hang on. What's it doing there? Oh. Oh, I just closed the docs thing, so sources. How do I get this to go back in? Oh, great. Where is that? Can't now select it. Oh, for Christ's sake. It's one of those weird windows that kind of pops up, but you can't then select it in your window manager. Where is it? Great, yeah, that's really helpful. Thanks a lot for that. So somehow by dragging that, and it's not letting me close it. So where's the docs thing? Sources. I'll have to put that back later. It's gone bonkers. Reset doc. Yeah, okay, there we go. Sorry about that. So monitor audio was what I was trying to show you. If I double click that, you got to set the DSP to custom, dev DSP. That was what I was trying to show you before that went mad. So that's basically the command and what you need to do to capture the desktop audio in FreeBSD. And yeah, that was really helpful. I actually did a post on OSS, virtual OSS years and years ago, because I couldn't get it working. So it was really good to find that. There's lots of different sort of commands, but this is the one that I found actually worked perfectly. So that's what I'd recommend doing. So I'll put links to all this under the video, but that's how you can get OBS Studio to work without pulse audio on FreeBSD, and also be able to capture the desktop audio as well with audio ducking, and also set Firefox to use OSS audio instead of pulse audio. So what that means is I don't have pulse audio running in either Firefox or OBS Studio, and hopefully that's going to have fixed all the popping and crackling I was getting in some previous videos that I was doing. So that's the reason why I had to have a look at using audio capture OSS instead of pulse audio, because I basically tried everything. I've tried all the settings in OBS Studio. Tried it without filters, with filters, every different permutation. I was always getting popping and crackling. I thought it's not a memory issue because I've got 16 gig of RAM, so I'm pretty sure it must have been something to do with pulse audio causing the problem. Also, strange enough, as I said, having OBS Studio full screen seemed to cause issues, not being able to quit it, and I don't know if it being full screen was actually causing some kind of memory buffer issue that was then causing the popping that I was getting in the videos. But the popping issue was similar to me trying to record on a 2011 MacBook Air with 4 gig of RAM, which just didn't have enough memory to record the screen and the video at the same time. And that's why I was thinking it was some kind of memory issue or something, but pretty sure it must have been pulse audio. So this will allow you to get rid of pulse audio completely, not use it at all, but still being able to capture your mic and the output of desktop applications as well. So that's all for now, and I'll stick links to all this under the video.